Yes.
Yes.
Love it. I want the where's my lightning? It doesn't work all the time.
Come on. No.
I'm not Cappy. I feel like I'm Cappy, but I'm not. Welcome everybody to the Blue Review. I'm here. I know I wasn't here yesterday. I wasn't feeling too good, but I was behind the scenes. I'm gonna do the same thing today. I don't want to affect the episode too much by hacking up some, you know what. So I will leave it to you guys, but I wanted to make sure that I hit our read because I want to give LAX love. Our friends at LAX, I'm going to be heading that way not too long to head out to WrestleMania. Actually, going to be getting
very
getting
nice.
Getting some WWE action on, reliving my childhood. Essentially, I used to want to be a pro wrestler when I was in preschool. So that'll be fun. Shout out to LAX. Changes are arriving daily, reducing the traffic, saving travel, the traveler's experience time. So if you want to learn more, you can check that out at flylax.com/transforminglax. That's flylax.com/transforminglax. But like I mentioned, Greg, Marcus, I'm going to let you two get into everything that happened yesterday. I guess, people still care about last games of spring. I don't know.
Well,
ish.
It's relative.
But hey, Mookie was back. We got the home opener tomorrow, so lots to get into. I know we also teased a video, Greg, yesterday with our friend Clint. We weren't able to get to it, so if you guys want it in the chat, yell at me. I'll put it up there. We can react to it. But tons of good stuff. I'll let you guys get into it. I'm gonna try to get myself off the screen. But Greg, all you.
All right. Thank you very much, Parker. I feel better because I'm still coughing up stuff as it doesn't go away for a very, very long time, apparently. But Marcus, I don't know if you got to watch any of the game yesterday. I would not blame you if you didn't because it was the last game of spring and they care very little about that game.
Yes. I did not watch any of it. I checked the box score. I saw the final. It was great to see them finish the spring on a positive note. I don't know. My big takeaway is Mookie's back. That's the big thing for me. Okay, he went 0-for-3. Don't care. More excited though that he's just feeling good enough in a good enough spot that he can be back in the lineup. That's all I care about.
That's all that matters. Is that he's like about 120 pounds now after he lost 75 pounds with this sickness, this unknown sickness. But the fact is, he played well enough that he's like, okay, I'm ready to play tomorrow when it actually matters, or I guess tomorrow for us now, not him yesterday, because that would be today. But either way, I'm confusing myself, Marcus. But either way, he's ready to play Thursday for opening day, and that's the most important thing. It was a really funny, Eric Karros was on the broadcast, and I love Karros on the broadcast. If it's not Oral Hershiser, I want Karros on the broadcast every single time because he gives 0 Fs. He just goes in there and he says whatever he wants. He doesn't care if it offends somebody. He doesn't care what he says. It's absolutely amazing. And he drops little nuggets all the time that I think are either funny or really, really interesting. So one of the things he said that I just didn't really think about is if you are playing in the last spring training game of the season and you don't swing at the first pitch every single at bat, you're gonna get hell from your teammates back in the dugout.
Come on, let's move this along. Let's go, right?
Right? They're like, just swing, just get out of we're done. We don't need. And I believe the game it started around 6 and it ended at 8:02, so it was just around 2 hours or just under 2 hours. I thought they were going to go about an hour 45.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? It's like you've gone through the spring. You're at this point, you're just antsy to get the real thing started now. The last spring training game, it falls under the category of because the schedule makers said so. That's why they're playing the game. Everybody knows where their role is going to be. Everybody knows where they're going to start the season, right? You're either starting the season in LA. As soon as that game ends, you're probably hopping a flight to Oklahoma City or something like that. So, this isn't a crucial game in the middle of the season where you are trying to work at bats and you're trying to see extra pitches. Hey man, let's just make sure nobody gets hurt. Let's just get this thing done as soon as possible, and then let's get on to the real thing in a couple days.
Yeah, so I don't know how much we can really take away from anything. Dustin May pitched last night, and he in the first inning, he struck out the first 2 batters. He struck out, I think, something along the lines of 3 of the first 4 or 5 batters, and he ended up with the 6 through 5 innings, of which he only pitched, I think, 68 pitches. Now, that could be because Dustin May is back and he's good, or it could be that whole last game of spring training thing where they're just swinging away. Either way, I would love seeing Dustin May on the mound, and I kind of want to know, what are you expecting? Do you expect him to be a really valuable piece this year, or is it something we're like kind of wait and see for you?
I think he's going to be a valuable piece. But I also think he has the luxury of right now being the 5th starter, which means, very rarely will they be giving him the ball with the idea of, hey, we need you to go out and be the stopper. We need you to go out and get the win. Now, if it happens, that's fantastic. But I do think being that 5th starter on a team that is this deep and has a starting rotation, when healthy, that is this deep, there is not the pressure on him to go out and really be a critical part of this rotation. I think I said earlier, in some ways, it's a little bit like what we experienced with Walker Buehler last year, where there's an opportunity for him to sort of get right. He's going to get those opportunities to go out there and try and get himself back into it, because I think we looked it up. It's been nearly 2 calendar years since he pitched for the Dodgers in a game that mattered. So, I think it's a little bit of what we saw with Walker Buehler. It's a little bit of what we saw with Bobby Miller. Obviously, the two of them sort of went in very different directions as the season progressed. But the point being, Dave Roberts, the front office, gave those guys opportunities to sort of work through their issues and sort of let them kind of figure out who they are. And so I think that's going to be a lot of what we see from Dustin May. I think especially the first, call it 2 months of the season or so. And then, once we get into early June or something, I think, everybody can kind of reevaluate what they have seen from him, and then we can go forward from there.
Yeah, no, so I think you said something interesting there too, is that they allow these guys to work through whatever issues that they have. And that's just a luxury that most teams don't have. You can't let guys work through it in most teams, because this team is so deep and has so many different pieces, and your minor leagues are so deep and have so many pieces that can just come up. The Dodgers have that luxury of, like, if Dustin May is struggling through the first 2 months of the season, they can put him on the IL, bring him back up, or they can just let him work through it. And that's a very strange thing for a Major League Baseball team to have, in my opinion. You don't see, there's not a lot, like the Marlins are not going to be letting guys struggle through things. They need to find ways to win. The Angels, sorry, Parker, are not going to find way. They can't just let Logan O'Hoppe, if he's really like struggling, you can't let him work through it. Maybe you got to like do something. It's a luxury that that this is the only team really in the league. Maybe the Yankees, actually not even the Yankees anymore with all their injuries.
Not right now.
No. The Mets maybe have that luxury. Like you saw last year that even the Braves don't have that luxury. They lost Acuna and it all fell apart. Other teams don't have this luxury. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is. So it's a good place to be. Obviously, going back to the fact that yesterday was the last spring training game, and I think a lot of folks were sort of in the I don't really want to be here right now kind of mode of things. It's like I don't know how much you take away, but the fact that May was able to get out there, get some work against live hitters, and get through his outing in a reasonably efficient manner. I think that's good. So now we'll see him, I assume, in about a week, when he makes his first start of the regular season, and we'll sort of see how things go there when, there's a little more pressure. Mind you, it's still going to be April, so it's not a ton of pressure, but a little more pressure, a few more eyes on him. So, very much keeping an eye on that. But again, just to see the lineup fully intact the way we expect to see it for the majority of the season, that to me, I think was encouraging enough. And, now we're through all of this. It's just still so weird that, it's going to be opening day and the Dodgers are 2-0. But the fact that here we are getting ready for
it's such a weird thing.
It's such a weird thing, right? I mean, I'm sure Cubs fans are like, we're starting opening day and we're 0-2. Like that actually seems like the most Cubs thing ever, to be honest with you. But,
it really does.
Let's just finally get this thing going after what was a really exciting, fun off season. But the wait is over. It's hard, but now let's strap it on for real.
We are one sleep away
One
from
sleep.
from games actually counting. I mean, look, yes, they're 2-0, but it just feels like they're just starting tomorrow. I don't know. I do want to get into, if there's anything in the chat, like, please put all your stuff every single day. Obviously, if you have things to chat, we're going to pay attention. We want to be very, very interactive in all of that kind of stuff. So I do see something from Jazz Meat. He says, who do we think is pitching on Monday? Glasnow. Possibly. I'm trying to go to that game. Really, so what do you think this rotation is going to look like to start? If Dustin May is the fifth guy, it seems to be that he would be the starter on Monday, and that seems like that's your normal time rest too. You pitch on Tuesday, the next week you pitch on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, that should be how it goes. I would suspect the rotation. I mean, it looks like Yamamoto is going to be in that top spot in the rotation. I don't know who would be. What is Glasnow the number 2 there now?
Yeah, what are they doing after, if Blake Snell is starting on tomorrow against Tarek Skubal, who is a phenomenal pitcher?
Yeah.
What's the rest of it look like for the weekend?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it's been announced.
I don't think it has been announced. I'm like, I'm trying to go to the website and see if maybe they've put it up there. I don't see anything as of yet. So I'm spitballing here, but Yamamoto, Glasnow, Snell. I guess it can't be Snell if he's throwing tomorrow. But
yeah, so if Glasnow pitched on Monday, so he wouldn't be even ready until Sunday.
Sunday at the earliest.
So that allows. So if it could go Snell, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Glasnow, May. Does that sound
sounds about right? Yeah.
Because now it's been obviously over a week and a half since both Yamamoto and
Sasaki
will have pitched, so they need to get in there as well.
Yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting because they start with the Tigers coming up this weekend. Then weirdly they have an off day on Sunday, which is sort of wild. At the first,
they have an off day on Sunday. Oh,
they play Thursday. They play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're off on Sunday, and then the Braves come in starting on Monday.
So Glasnow is probably going to start that game on.
What is this? On Monday?
What Sunday is a day for baseball? Can we just all agree on this? When it's not football season and it's the summer, Sunday 1:00 we watch Dodger baseball.
It's interesting because Major League Baseball, as much as I love it and want to defend it, they are great at shooting themselves in the foot with a lot of things. It was. I think several people on the internet made the point. Why wasn't opening day on Tuesday, for instance? Opening day around baseball is going to be on Thursday, and they're going to put it up against the Sweet 16. They're going to spend the weekend competing with the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, which draw a ton of eyeballs. Tuesday, you had
and doing it at night too. You're playing night games again.
You had pretty much Tuesday to yourself. I mean, there were a couple of NBA games. Like if you were into Jimmy Butler going back to Miami, then that was a thing that you were into. Yeah. But for the most part, the calendar was pretty clear on Tuesday. Why wouldn't you have started the season then, and then throw in how the Dodgers not playing on a Sunday in the first weekend of the season? I don't understand why the schedule makers do what they do.
I blame one person. I blame this one person for basically everything that goes wrong in baseball, and that's Rob Manfred. Yeah. Rob Manfred does everything he touches turns to dust. It's he's just one of the worst commissioners in the history of the sport. Just calling it a shiny piece of metal, which I'll never get over.
I have a T-shirt that says that, by the way. Dodgers 2020 piece of metal winners, I believe, is what it says.
That's actually really, really good. But I just making these decisions that just don't make a lot of sense, and it's a lot of it is for scheduling. They were doing those. I think they're not doing 2 games anymore. Like, remember last year they were playing the Angels in the regular season. It'd be 2 games. Now I think they're actually playing 3, which I enjoy the fact that they're going to do an actual 3-game set. 2-game sets are just worthless to me.
They're dumb.
Yeah, they're dumb.
There is a 2-game set, by the way. Now that you say that, I'm just kind of cruising through the schedule. There's one kind of in late April. They play the Cubs. They go to the Cubs. They go to Chicago for a 2-game set, like the third or fourth week of April. So
probably because they played those 2-game set in. Is it with the Cubs? Yeah, because they played 2 games, so they have to continue to play the 2 games, so it's even. But it's in Chicago?
It's in Chicago.
So that means that Chicago gets the home series twice.
Yes.
Because they were technically the home team in Japan.
Which I thought was also weird, by the way. I know this isn't where we plan to take the show, but here we are.
We just
I did think it was weird that, the Cubs basically lose 2 home games out of this. Like, I would have thought if you're going to play a 2-game set, why not flip it? Why not make the Dodgers a home team 1 game and the Cubs the home team the other game? I mean, if I'm a Cubs fan, I'm a little bit salty that we only get 79 home games this year, actual true home games this year, because, 2 of them got sent to Japan.
Because that would make too much sense to just have one have a home game, one have a home game. That would make way too much sense. I mean, or maybe it's because of scheduling, because to schedule 1 extra game somewhere at a home game. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's Rob Manfred. Again, Rob Manfred. I see this from Ruben Flores. He said, Dave said this season they have to play like they did not win the World Series last year and go after it. Do you believe in that kind of mindset, or do you think it means absolutely it doesn't make a difference one way or another?
I think it's a thing managers say to teams to sort of get them to focus a little bit. I do think there's something to it. I mean, having talked to you may talk to NFL players, for instance, who have been on Super Bowl winning teams. One of the things that I've heard is that, when you win one, it does get a little bit harder to get the whole roster to focus, right? Because, for some guys, it's like, that's the pinnacle. Hey, I won my championship. Now I'm going to chase the bag somewhere, or I'm going to focus on trying to get endorsements, or, I'm just going to bask in the fact that I have a championship ring here. So, trying to get everybody back on the same page to come back and do it again is kind of hard. I mean, I think that's why you look at, say the Kansas City Chiefs, however you feel about them, the fact that they went to 3 straight Super Bowls, right? Like, that's pretty impressive, because at some point everybody is gunning for you. You are everybody's big game, and for them to go out and be successful, and even though they lost the Super Bowl this past year, the fact that they got back there again sort of speaks to a uniformity of mindset and just a singular focus. And so, over the course of 162 games, I think just keeping focus at all is going to be sort of difficult. But it just does seem like one of those things that as a manager, you tell your team just to make sure that everybody is, no more looking backwards, because that's over. Time to look forward and get ready for what's to come.
Right. But for the most part, it's just lip service, right? Like, you just tell them, like, hey, we didn't win the World Series last year. I actually think there's a little bit to it where you won the World Series, you have a more relaxed approach too, like where that you can come in and be just a little bit. You're not tight. You're not trying to swing for a fence. Every single hit doesn't have to mean something to you. I mean, as great as Shohei was, I'm sure there was a little bit of pressing. Remember, we talked about it at the beginning of last year, that he was pressing because he was trying to hit that first home run as a Dodger. He was trying to get to 50-50. He was trying to get to the 60 stolen base, all like really pushing towards these certain things. And because they won the World Series, you kind of feel like, okay, I don't need to push for that. I can just relax and I can just play baseball and enjoy the game again. To me, it almost feels like, hey, I can have a little bit more of that now. And so it's not so much not thinking that I understand the sentiment that you didn't win. You have to continue to try and push towards it. But I like a little bit of the relaxation and not being so tight part of it too.
Yeah, I get that. And I think especially, look, I think for the Dodgers last year, maybe the biggest obstacle to get past was beating the Padres in the first round, right? I mean,
yeah, huge.
That team had been just a thorn in their side the last few years. The Dodgers had been stumbling in the first round, and specifically against division opponents, right? Losing to the Padres, losing to the Diamondbacks, being down in the series and having to go to San Diego last year in the postseason. I think just winning that, I really do think the Kike Hernandez, we don't give a bleep afterwards.
Oh,
That was just sort of the
yeah.
weight being lifted off this team a little bit. And, obviously winning the World Series was incredible, but I just think winning that first round series against San Diego took this franchise a really long way.
Yeah, no, absolutely it did. And I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. It gave you that weight off your shoulders, that pressing off your shoulder, because they had to get past that. They had to get past losing to a division opponent 2 years in a row in the first round in the division series. They had to get that weight off their shoulders of winning a World Series in a 162 game season, which they hadn't done since 1988. They got past that. And now you have that just the stress that just comes off you and you can just play. I think that's going to really actually benefit. So I understand the sentiment, like I'm saying, but I love the fact that this team is going to be relaxed now. And I love the point that you made too of getting past the Padres, because that changes everything. It all starts right there, because I know I've said it a million times, but if they lost that series to the Padres, there's no Dave Roberts here right now. It's somebody else managing this team right now. And I fully believe that.
No, I'm with you too. And I was the guy last year who, said, look, I can make a case for Dave Roberts sticking around, but also if the Dodgers decided to make the move, it would be hard to put up a strong protest for it, because of what the expectations were for this team and the fact that not only did they not get close, but that they kept losing to teams in their division, right? I guess it would have been one thing if, they had lost to the Braves, a strong Braves team, or they lose to a good Phillies team or something like that. And not that the Padres weren't good, but there's just something different about it, maybe because San Diego's just a couple hours away, and those fans are very chirpy at times, and all that sort of thing.
At times, at times.
Hey, look, they got but they had that one season when they sort of went for it, right? They spent a whole bunch of money and things didn't go well. It was kind of quiet down south for at least a year or so.
That was amazing. I love that.
Yeah, so they're but here it is. They win. Dave gets a huge contract.
Deserved.
It is deserved. They go out, they add even more firepower to a team that was already incredibly loaded. And so, essentially now we just get to enjoy the ride from now until October, and then we'll see where the chips fall at that point.
Yeah. And so Jasmine, we only have a little bit of time left, and Jasmine just said, who is going to be the biggest contenders besides us? I mean, there's going to be a team that just comes out that's just like, oh my God, that team is the team. But you have to think it's probably going to be the same teams we've seen for the most part. It's going to be, the Padres and the Diamondbacks are going to push us as always, just because that's just how that division works. I think the Braves are still going to be a very big team to mess around with, as long as Acuna stays healthy. If Acuna comes back and is healthy, that's a completely different team.
This year too, correct?
Yep. Spencer Strider's back too, so I think that one is very much a team. I think the Mets.
Look, throw the Mets in there. Look, I don't think you can add a guy like Juan Soto. They made a run last year, and at least for a couple games, they made life tough on the Dodgers. So now you go out and you add Juan Soto. Like, I don't think you have to be considered, I think, amongst the contenders this year.
Yeah, and then and then Philly's always going to be right there too, because they have those teams. They just fall apart in bad places because Trey Turner falls apart in playoffs. As much as I loved him as a Dodger, I was tired of watching him completely swing and miss at balls in the postseason.
I never really, it seemed like a good idea. I just, because he didn't hit in the playoffs and because he was never a really good defensive player, it felt like there was a big hole there with Trey Turner. Notice we talked about contenders. We didn't name not one team from the NL Central.
Well, you really can't. The Brewers are not going to do it. It's not going to be the Cardinals. It's not going to be the Cubs. The Cubs, I guess, could potentially get there, but I don't see it in that one. Oh, this is a good one too. I got one just before we go, and then we'll get back into Travis and DeMarco. Dead Meow. Who will be my Vezia this year? I don't know yet.
That's a good question.
I need villains. I think that's a good thing to have. I need somebody to say this is a problem because of this guy. That we're losing games right now because of this guy. If you're too good, it gets boring. We can't do 162 basically of these, and we're talk for 6 months about a team and just say they're amazing, they're so good. Like no one's going to come in here and listen to that. So I need that one guy. I don't know who it's going to be, and they could always switch it around.
Oh yeah, it could
I
change.
love Vezina. It could change. Vezina could be my villain again if he's giving up 3-run jacks consistently and losing us games. Hey, back into villain territory. He's not there right now, but maybe.
Oh man, it's gonna be fun though. I'm excited about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Obviously, it gets going tomorrow. I know we'll talk about you're not here tomorrow, but I'll be here tomorrow. We could have a special surprise guest pop in tomorrow, but it gets going, man. Blake Snell versus Tarek Skubal, fantastic pitching matchup to start. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be out the next 2 days. I will be here on Monday, but I'll be out in the next 2 days for vacation. I got my 1-year anniversary trip, so 2 days gone. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be away for a little bit, but back next week. Marcus and Parker will be back here tomorrow. And thank you for coming on the Blue Review. Thank you to LAX and everybody who's back here tomorrow. Thank you very much. Opening day tomorrow, baby. Let's go.